This week in the League of Legends, we've got 5.16, the Juggernaut patch. Right after that, we've got the arcade skins out for enjoyment and some skins being retired right along and next to it. And then on the PvE, we've got the Project Rollout, coming to a patch near you. All this and more on the Spazzy Gaming Web Show.
This is Water Elemental.
And this is Axis, and we are here today to talk about the League of Legends. This is an ongoing show. We talk a little bit about everyone's favorite MOBA-style battle game, 5.16.
Yeah, it came out right after we finished editing the episode.
Why not?
Why not? But hey, we got some time to check out the new Juggernaut stuff.
Absolutely love it. I love it.
So starting out, Darius.
We talked a little bit about what's changing for Darius. The big things are changes to his passive, his decimate, and his attack range, funny enough. Attack range got jumped up 50, which is kind of a big deal. His attack damage growth jumped up pretty high. His armor and health all jumped up. His base attack speed went down, and his attack speed growth went down. So less DPS, but more front-end damage and a lot more health. His passive Hemorrhage, the damage on it went down actually pretty significantly. 9 points from its base value at the top end. And it went from magic damage to physical damage, which is something I talked a lot about when he first came out, in that he had good damage diversity. But now the physical damage works well with the armor penetration he naturally receives, and works with Black Cleaver, which is really, really, really nice. It also gives him the move speed from Black Cleaver, which is also really, really nice.
But he did lose the movement speed per champion inflicted by his bleed.
Which is kind of crappy, because 5% per character, you really get a lot of move speed going.
It's scary. It's really scary.
And it's no longer scary. Decimate now has a cast time, 0.75 seconds. You don't have to stand there and do it, but like you move, you slow down a little bit, you wind up and swing. Mana cost got reduced, and it now heals him for 10% of his missing health for each champion that he hits with Decimate, up to a maximum of 30%, which is pretty wild. The blade damage, like the outer sweet spot damage, dropped significantly. However, the ratio of damage he gets to it is now based on his total AD rather than his bonus AD, which is really, really good. And the handle damage is now half instead of 66%. And if you're hit by the handle, you no longer get a bleed strike, which is good. Crippling Strike got a pretty big nerf. It's nice in some cases, but it's mostly just a nerf. Mana cost got reduced, which is nice. Cooldown is scaling from 9 to 5 instead of 8 flat. It does 140% of his total attack damage at all ranks, which is, again, kind of a nerf. The slow went to 90% at all ranks, which is very good, but the slow duration got cut in half. It no longer slows attack speed, and it no longer gets its reduced cooldown based on the number of hemorrhage stacks on the opponent, which is terrible.
But 90% at all ranks, that is a great harassment tool.
Yeah. 1 second, almost enough time to do your thing. But again, only once every 9 to 5 seconds. Not that good. Apprehend no longer pulls after opponents flash or get out of the zone when he initially hits them with the first tick. Enemies pulled are slowed by 90% for 1 second, which is good. Cast time was reduced so you can pull them faster. But the big change, of course, was to Noxian Guillotine. It got slightly reduced base damage from 160 to 340 to 100 to 300. Its mana cost now goes to 0 at cap rank. It no longer refunds mana on the kill. However, subsequent casts of Noxian Guillotine have no cost, which is actually better. And when you execute an enemy champion, all nearby lesser creatures, non-champions, will become terrified. It's a small fear effect, so you can break that creep aggro. Which, all this put together, pretty nice. Get that health back. You're a little slower. You're a lot slower. You have no chasing capability. It's actually kind of weak. He's the weakest of the Juggernauts, I'd say.
Yeah.
But definitely interesting changes.
Definitely. He is a character that once he gets you, you're kind of stuck there for a while, so he needs to do that burst damage to either kill you outright or just stay for a long team fight. He doesn't really have that chasing potential through jungles like he used to.
Garen, my boy Garen, he is so ridiculous right now. He is unreal how good he is. So, first of all, health growth went down, which I understand that he had very high health growth. His attack damage growth went up. His armor growth went up. His attack range went up by 50 as well. These are all very good buffs. Decisive Strike now silences by 1.5 at all ranks, which is a pretty big nerf to his kit. But the slow duration was also nerfed, which is also a pretty big nerf to his kit. you no longer get 4.5 seconds of that turbocharge at max rank. So Decisive Strike, not as good as it used to be. Courage is going back to how it was almost before. So you get that damage reduction. You no longer get tenacity on activation. You no longer get bonus armor and magic resistance in percentage value. Instead, you passively get 0.25 armor and magic resistance, or 1 for kills, large monsters, and epic monsters up to a maximum of 30 at all ranks. Unlike the previous iteration of Courage, this is retroactive. So if you have killed creeps before you level the skill, you'll get points for that, which is nice.
Very nice.
Judgment. Now this is the big one. The cooldown is now 9 seconds at all ranks. Base damage per tick went from 10 to 60 to 14 to 30. The ratio went from 0.35 to 0.55 to 0.34 to 0.38. And ticks per cast went from 6 down to 5. A lot of people were thinking, this is a big nerf. It has a new passive. Based on your current champion level, you gain bonus ticks, going from 5 all the way up to 10 ticks on 1 through 16. Canceling Judgment early will refund cooldown equal to the duration of the spin, and it deals 33% increased damage in a single target. This skill is so much more crazy. It was before it was nice. It was very good. It did decent damage. It was fun. Now it's ridiculous.
It's creep damage.
Absolutely unreal how much damage you do with this, especially at later levels, because you just spin. You're doing 10 ticks.
And a lot of people don't realize that because they're going to sit there like, oh, it's not a big deal. Early game, I could stand to this. Late game.
380% of your physical damage over 3 seconds at level 16 is absolutely abhorrent amounts of damage, and it can crit. And his passive, of course, Demacian Justice, just judgment ticks and basic attacks against a villain target deal 1% of their maximum health as true damage, and Demacian Justice deals true damage to the villain instead of magic damage. What if it's a villain? It is the person on the team who has gotten the most amount of kills last and has not died to you specifically. Which is to say, if you lose first blood in lane as Garen, it's okay, you just come back and kill them. And then you kill anyone else on the team that dared get a kill while you were nearby. Because you just plow through everyone. He's going to get nerfed. It makes me sad. So fun right now.
Enjoy it while you can.
Exactly.
Skarner
was one I talked about a few weeks ago, and I was worried about him being too reliant on the Crystal Spires. Thankfully, they either listened to me or they're very, very smart. But before I get too far into that, his health growth stat went down, and his attack damage stat went up. So a little less offensive, a little more defensive. I'm sorry, reverse that. His new passive, while he is near Crystal Spires, he gains 100 movement speed, 50 to 150% attack speed, and he will restore 3% of his maximum mana per second. These crystals are located near red and blue buff on both sides, Dragon and Baron. Now, Crystal Slash got a little bit of a nerf. The cooldown got reduced on a scaling scale. Mana cost was reduced. The AD ratio went down. The bonus attack damage ratio was removed, and the charged damage went down. The charge duration also went down, and the cooldown that you get from hitting stuff on attacks went down. However, the cooldown reduction when you're hitting champions is still down quite a lot.
He also loses the movement speed or attack speed
from this ability.
Yep.
Yes. Crystalline Exoskeleton now scales with a maximum health and percentage of your health plus ability power, rather than just a flat amount plus ability power.
Which is nice.
Fracture is the thing that got the buffs to match the Q nerfs. Now this got a mana cost basically baseline, so it's 55 at all ranks. Cooldown is about 1 second longer at each rank. The slow duration is down by 0.5 seconds. The missile speed now goes through everything, but it slows for each champion that you hit. So basically the projectile gets slower, so it's easier to dodge. It will afflict new targets with Crystal Venom for 5 seconds, which will cause the next basic attack to stun them and deal 25 to 125 physical damage. And this is the part that I am excited about. Crystallizing enemies with Fracture and Impale will grant him a Crystal Charge, which is the buff he gets from his passes, for a short duration, and it will also reduce disables and the cooldown of Fracture. This is amazing because I was really worried about him being chained to objectives, And now if he ambushes a target or leads with his impale, which is what he should be doing, he gets that combat buff, and it's really great. Now, changes to his ultimate were not only the Crystal Venom buff, but also mana cost. So mana cost got brought down, cooldown got brought down at later levels. At early levels, a little longer. The magic damage was brought down significantly. However, he will deal 100% of his total attack damage at the beginning and the end of the spell, so that's very nice. However, it will no longer deal extra damage to those afflicted by the Crystal Venom buff. The last Juggernaut is
Mordekaiser. So,
movement speed down significantly. Base health down significantly. Health growth up pretty good. Base attack damage up pretty significantly. Attack damage growth up incredibly high. Attack speed growth up pretty darn high. Health regen up. Health regen growth actually down. And attack range is almost doubled, which is incredible.
yeah, it's you don't have to be standing right on top of them with their models clipping into each other to hit them now.
Indeed. His passive got changed just a little bit. It now decays half as slow. It can no longer decay below 25% of its total. So long as you built it up to 25%, will stay at that. It will not decay below that. It is no longer a flat value, but instead 25% of its maximum health. And it only generates off 25% of his damage dealt rather than 35%.
The passive 25% at all times, as long as it's there. Very nice. The problem with Mordekaiser is you kind of had to wind up to keep that shield and kind of had to keep it constantly going, kind of like a Vladimir stack. So
Which
if you were
maybe
ready,
that might change soon.
yeah. So you're just kind of pressing. You got to keep going, keep going. So now it's just like, all right, 25%. Let's go into fight.
My first and favorite skill of his is Mace of Spades. Same health cost, cooldown's a little bit shorter. It now has a 3-hit functionality rather than a single hit, which is incredible. So it gives you a flat amount of damage, plus your auto attack, and it scales off your total attack ratio. So 0.25 all the way up to 0.3 at max, plus ability power, and plus a flat amount of damage. And the first attack will hit for that flat amount. The second one will hit 3 times for that. Second one will hit 9 times the original attack value. So the first hit is going to be pretty weak. The second hit is going to be crazy. The third hit will one-shot most people. It's actually kind of wild, and it's really awesome. And it basically says, if he gets close to you, you're going to die.
If he gets rooted, they're going to die.
The next skill is his W. This is his
Shield.
This is basically his shield ability. It got changed around quite a lot. Used to be just AoE damage plus armor and magic resistance.
Inner-generated armor.
Yes. Now it no longer has a cost. Its cooldown went down significantly. The damage is dealt in a flat amount over 4 seconds. And at the end of its duration, or whenever he reactivates it, it will explode and deal bonus damage to nearby enemies and heal both Mort and the person he targeted with it. Both its dot and detonation can overlap and deal damage to the same enemies twice, so you can basically do a lot of damage with this ability if you have a melee support and a melee Mordekaiser. Basically Leona. Leona is the person you want with Mordekaiser, and you just stand on someone.
Right. He also gets 75% 75 movement speed, and when he's moving towards someone, he targets with the shield, so he can use it to kind of as a catch-up mechanic. So that's also pretty awesome. You can put it on minions, run up to the minions, put it on an ally, run up to the ally. Yes. So he's got some more movement compared to no movement whatsoever.
Next is Siphon of Destruction, his cone ability. The damage ratio on it went down significantly. However, now it scales off of both ability power and total attack damage. Its cooldown went from flat 6 seconds to 6 to 5. And it will grant 15% of Iron Man's maximum shield when hitting champions, plus the damage. So you can get this up pretty quick if you're in a brawl. And finally, his ultimate, the Ghost, no longer gains as much attack damage. It's cut in half, so 10 to 50 instead of 20 to 100. And he deals damage to a dragon. He curses it, which means when it dies, to his team specifically, he will gain a Dragon Ghost, which he can use to command. However, he cannot use his ultimate while he has this up, but he can still use it as much as he likes. But you can double dip as soon as this dies, you enslave another character. It's pretty easy.
You steal dragon souls and make them your slaves.
Where have I heard this before?
Castlevania Symphony of the Night?
I was going to say Skyrim.
So,
Next up on our list, they had big changes to armor and magic resistance, and so they made the armor scaling on almost every melee tanky character go up. That is Blitzcrank, Braum, Leona, Nautilus, Tarek, Remus, Amamu, Tom Kench, Alistair, Bard, and Thresh. They all went up. They also got some bonus health. Take a look at the patch notes for more information in regards to that.
Ari, her passive Essence Thief, the healing on it has kind of dropped. It is now 3, 5, 9, and 18 per unit hits, and this activates at 1, 6, 11, and 16. So, kind of different change to how our passive works. It's not scaling as often, but the changes are noticeable.
Indeed. Alistair now is slower to get to the target that he is headbutting, so he's a little more counterplay involved. Azir, a couple of bug fixes. They're just cleaning up some of the bad decisions they made.
I've been playing Azir recently, and I can kind of see where they've kind of made the tweaks with the bugs, and I'm enjoying him a lot more. He's been
That's
a blast.
good. That's good. Elise is ridiculously powerful with Runeglaive right now, and they have shown that by reducing the percentage of current health damage on Neurotoxin by half. The flat damage remains the same. Kassadin now gains more damage on Riftwalk. What?
He has an additional 0.2 scaling on his Rift Walk, and extra stacks of Rift Walk add an additional 1% in ability power per stack.
10% of his ability power.
10%.
So you can get those huge Riftwalk dunks on people once again.
Right.
Lee Sin is getting buffed, so the first target that he hits with his passive of Flurry now gives him 20 energy on the first and 10 on the second, so you get a little bit more energy on the front end, so you don't have to auto-attack twice to catch up. And Dragon's Reach got a really cool new passive where any enemy champion that you kick, if it collides with another character, it deals 20% of their bonus health as physical damage to those targets. So if you kick the tank into their team, it's not such a bad idea anymore.
Yeah.
LeBlanc, missile speed on Distortion and Mimic Distortion, so making her job a little easier. Lysandra, this is a really cool change. Self-casting Frozen Tomb will now heal you for 100 to 200, plus 1% per 1% of your missing health, and 0.3 ability power. So it's not just a Zanya's anymore, it's actually a heal, which is really cool.
And AoE damage, which is even better. Mr. Lucian, Light Slinger, he has a new effect to it. Its second shot will always do 100% damage to minions, but the scaling on it has added an extra tier to it. So instead of going from 3, 4 to 5, it goes 3, 4, 5 to 6 at 1, 6, 11, and 16. A lot more damage at late game. Damage kind of scales a little bit slower.
You get a lot more power from his passive at more points in the game. So this is a good buff for him.
Ardent Blaze, the movement speed on it has been increased from 40 to 60 all the way up to 80, which is awesome, and the duration is now 1 second.
So kind of bad.
Yeah. More movement speed, less time, and the losing teammates can now also trigger Ardent Blaze's movement speed bonus for him.
So you can run away if your support's willing to throw their wife away for you.
Hey, a good support should always throw their life away for their 80 carry.
Nasus, with these Juggernaut changes, he wasn't one of the characters that got the buff, but they wanted to make him still competitive with those longer range characters here, especially in the top lane. So Siphoning Strike now always gets 150 range. You don't have to be in Fury of the Gods to do that.
Nami, her passive, the movement speed has been increased to 60, and the ratio is now at 0.20. Very, very awesome. And Tidal Wave now has a new thing to it. Surging Tide's movement speed bonus now doubled to allies within the Tidal Wave. So you can use this as not only a knockup, but a way to charge into the enemy defenses. Very cool. I use the knockup as a movement speed buff for my allies, and this is going to make my tactic a lot more useful.
Sweet. Defensive Ball Curl on Ramus. A Ramus buff. What year is it?
Who's
Went up by
Ramus?
10 at all ranks. Very good stuff. Equalizer cooldown for Rumble is up at all ranks. About 15 seconds to 25 seconds at all ranks. And now starts a little bit closer to your cursor, so you can get a little bit more range out of it if you time it right. Tom Kench, he got some armor this patch, but he also got a little bit of a target priority on his W. So he is slightly more able to pick characters out when you're fudge clicking to get that character devoured. And enemies that are regurgitated are now stunned for 0.25 seconds, so you can do a little bit more setup after you spit them out, so it's not all just quick casting away.
Abyssal Voyage now gives a particle effect after your on my way ping. So previously you would see the particle effects before your teammates even saw you moving over there. Now it will go on my way ping, and then a second later your particle effects will show up on that location.
So he can ambush a little bit more, but it's still pretty bad. Teemo got some big buffs last patch, and they have tinkered with them a little bit more. Basically, they fixed a bug where if you did a knock-up or a shove on Teemo while he was camouflaged, it wouldn't reveal him. Now it does. Noxus Trap, slow, no longer decays. It's just the full duration the whole time. And enemies that are hit by this Noxus Trap are revealed for the duration, which is really nice. Twitch, ambush, mana cost down. Ratatat, base damage up at later ranks. Victor, slight nerfs in his early game because he's incredibly dominant right now. But he gets a lot more mana in the early game from his prototype core. And at all levels, basically. And because it scales off level now instead of a flat amount. And at the perfect Hex score, he gets a huge chunk. He gets 12 more ability power at cap level. But again, a little bit less early game power, a little bit more mana, a little bit more late game power. Not too much to complain about there. Volibear, the activation of lightning from his Thunderclaws will now chain outward and deal damage in 2 stages, which is nice. Zac, Elastic Slingshot, the distance that you can cast it is up at all ranks, all the way up to 1800 at cap rank. Deathmark, the time that it takes to recast the ability to proc the damage is down, so if you really need to get in and get out, you have that option. Now, Juggernaut optimization and itemization just came out, and they released a few new items. Dead Man's Plate is out officially, but it's been out a few weeks. It's one of my favorite items in the game. 2,750 gold, Chain Vest, Giant Belt, 1,000 gold, 600 health, huge health, 50 armor, decent armor. Unique passive, you build momentum while moving, up to 100. It'll grant you 60 bonus movement speed and a scaling value. And it will slow and decay a little bit if you are slowed or CC'd. And basically this momentum turns into damage in a 1-to-1 scale. Basically, if you have... I'm sorry, in a 1-to-2 scale. My apologies. So if you have 50 momentum, you'll do 25 momentum damage. However, if you have 100 stacks of momentum, you will do 100 flat damage. And if the attack is melee, it will slow the target for 75 and decay over 1 second. Very good. Serdic's Charge. It's an item that's good in theory, but not that good in practice. 2,550 gold, Longsword, Giant Belts, and 1,200 gold, 500 health. Increases your base attack damage by 25%. And if you take 400 to 1,800 damage based on your level, it will grant you Primal Rage for 8 seconds. And this is on a 45-second cooldown. This increases your size, grants you 25% additional base attack damage, and a decaying shield for 30% of your maximum health. This lasts for 8 seconds. It's very good in practice, but if you're taking that much damage that fast, you are probably going to die.
Finally, Titanic Hydra, 3,300 gold, Tiamat, Giant's Belt, 400 gold, 400 health, 50 damage, 100% health regen, has a unique passive of Cleave, we all know what Cleave does, and also has a unique active, Crescent Cleave, deals damage to all targets and an increase to 40 plus 10% of your maximum health as bonus physical damage in a large cone for your next basic attack.
Yeah, now this is different than the other ones. First of all, the cleave on this scales off of percentage of max health, which is nice. And the activate on it is not a crescent effect like the other Hydras.
It's
or
a frontal cone.
It's a cone, and you have to auto-attack to get it off. So you can't just hit it and hit everyone around you. You have to run up and still tap somebody with it.
And I think that's a little bit more useful than, say,
I think it's
spam.
good because Rivens won't pick this up and use it as an auto-attack cancel, because that's all they use Tiamat for right now. And it's very sad.
Yeah. Warmog's got some changes to it. The gold cost has increased to 2,750. The base health regen is now up to 200%. They have removed the passive gain 1% of your maximum health as regeneration, and they added a new passive. It's Warmog's Heart, restores 3% of maximum health per second. If you haven't taken damage within 8 seconds, you only have one Warmog's Heart if you have less than 3,000 maximum health. So
This item is really strong. 15% of your HP per 5 seconds is pretty wild. Yeah, it's really fun. I like it a lot. Next up, they changed a lot of armor and magic resistance items. The cost on almost every magic resistance item is down, but the total magic resistance is also down on the construction items, but higher on the actual items. So you can get up there pretty quick. It's pretty good stuff.
A lot of items to go over. We got a lot of stuff to cover, so go and check those out. It's slight changes, but enough to know what's going on.
Indeed. Next up, we have the Arcane skins, the Arcade Ribbon and Battle Boss Blitzcrank, and the Academy skins.
Yes.
Which we went over a little bit. I'm not the big fan of the Academy skins. I love Battle Boss Blitzcrank. I picked it up. I am currently using it over my Legendary. That's how much I like it.
Yeah. With the arcade skins coming out, they also had a promotional site as well as their first mobile game released on iOS and Android, Blitzcrank's Poro Rescue. It's a fun little game. Someone who works in the mobile industry, they need to optimize it a bit more because it doesn't scale very well on devices.
Whoops.
But it's pretty fun. You can play Blitzcrank, Thresh, Corki, and Nautilus, and you can get different skins for them. And there's a lot of good animations and gameplay. You can tell that they actually took some time for it. The app will only be around for a certain amount of time, so pick it up before it's gone for good, as well as the site, which has some cool little Easter eggs and stuff. A very cool little promotional thing. We're going to be kind of delving into a bit more of what they're planning with the arcade skins, with the project skins coming up later.
Indeed.
Also, along with the arcade skins coming out, they are putting a ton of new skins into the vault. This ranges from things like Frozen Shen coming back, all sorts of the older skins, to new skins. It's going to be kind of tiered throughout the week.
Every day you'll get new skins coming out of the vault and new skins going into the vault. So pick up the skins you want, ignore the ones that you don't, and just go through it. Watch this list very closely.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad because I just picked up the Cookie Morgana skin and it's going into the vault. So I'm like, no more Cookie Morgana.
Aww.
But finally, the big news, as we talked a little bit about it, a little bit of speculation, was the project skins. They announced the 5 characters getting project skins alongside of Yasuo. That is Leona, Fiora, Lucian, and Zed,
and
as well, and Yi. Yi is different because he is getting a totally reworked 1850 skin with a voice pack, which is really interesting because it's not just voice modulated. It's kind of like he has a robotic and a human personality that's constantly clashing with each other, and that's what I've kind of got out of the voice files. It's super cool, so sometimes he'll be talking with more like a human personality to it, and sometimes...
And then he'll get a Sated Devourer, and he'll turn into a robot that only plays the meta.
So, some things that are very interesting about this skin, on the PBE, they have found files for special borders, kind of like the ones for Legacy skins that people bought before they came back on a cycle. And how this is going to work is if you buy these skins between a certain time, you will get this border permanently for that skin.
Nice.
They will take the skins away for a certain amount of days and bring them back, and then afterwards, if you purchase those skins, the price will decrease, but you will not get the border for them. So if you want that cool border to them, you'll have to pay a bit more. The 1350 skins will go down to $975, but the Project E skin will stay the same. So if you want the extra flair, you have to pay a bit of money. I'm going to pick it up because the flare looks good, and I kind of want to have that limited time thing to it. Also, for this kind of side event, there's also a sync system. And how this works is if you have either the ward or a skin equipped, you will earn points. For every project skin, you will have 2 sync points. For the ward, you will have 1. If you have 2 sync points, you will get a custom teleport in effect. If you have 4 sync points, your team will unlock melee project minions for the duration of this mini event. And if you have 6 sync points, you can unlock the cannon minions. And it's kind of one of those things where they're encouraging team play again. I know that we've kind of said that team play is kind of boring, but sometimes it is fun to kind of theme up. We've done the whole Commando team.
Yeah, I like it more when like you're on a team with strangers and you're like, "Do you have this skin? Do you have the thing skin?" Like whenever I play with a J4 or a Zen, I'm like, "Do you have Commando? Do you have Commando? Do you have Commando?"
Go
in. Yes, we all go Commando. It's amazing.
We have actually had games where you and I were in a group and we had other people and we're like, there's 4 of us, someone pick a Commando. And we actually did. We would go in with 5 Demacians, some of us with the skins, some of us not. But we would lose, but it would be hilarious because the whole time we'd be like, going, we're Demacians, yeah!
Exactly.
This is kind of hinting towards further kind of investment.
Crimson Elite Sync Project?
I was going to say arcade, but Crimson Elite could be a choice.
No, Crimson Elite's never coming back.
But this could also mean a new way to kind of promote holiday skins. So next Halloween, we might be seeing these borders around the first launch of skins for that year.
Hey, Riot likes money. I don't see it not happening.
And that would make it so the skins can come out every year, but if you picked them up on the year of the event, you will get that additional flair to it. And I think that is a good compromise for people who, like myself, like Jelly Green, got the skins back in the day, and we kind of got burned by, we had them exclusive. Yeah, we got burned by thinking they were exclusive, but after a while they came back.
We'll have to keep an eye on it, guys. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. But that's really it for official news this week, guys. We're running really, really long.
Patches took forever.
Yeah, it was a huge patch. So we're not going to go over questions this week. We will carry over any that we got on the last episode, bring it on this one. But if you have new questions for us, we love to answer questions on the show when we have time. If you have one for us about the show, about League of Legends, about Spastic Gaming, about what we're up to, about anything really, we'll happily answer it. So post it in the comment section below. Send it to our email at spasticgaming@gmail.com, or post it on the Facebook, Twitter, or website, all of which are linked in the information down below. We have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/spasticgaming. You can post to that. Maybe chip in a couple of bucks. You'll get exclusive features and bonus content. It's your favorite. You'll love it.
We are hosting a panel here in Colorado, so if you're in the area and you want to come meet us, say hi, come check out our panel. We are only doing one, unfortunately. They lied to us. I'm very sad. But it will be about the history of MOBAs, which is our specialty. It will be at the Non-Desucon between September 3rd and the 6th, I believe.
It will be September 5th at 9 p.m., and you can check us out in the little booklet. You can take a look if you'd like more information. You can email us. We can get that to you specifically. Maybe even get you in the front row. But
we're going to be recording the panel, so if you can't make it, we will have it there. It will be awesome.
Yay!
Yay!
It's been Axis.
And Water Elemental.
I am hot and tired. Goodbye.